Kuldhara, once a thriving settlement, now lies in ruins, its streets empty, its homes untouched for centuries. One night, over 1,500 villagers vanished without a trace. They left no bodies, no belongings, and no explanation. But before they disappeared, they placed a curse on the land, one so powerful that no one has lived there since. To this day, locals warn, do not stay in Kuldhara after sunset. What happened here? Why did an entire village vanish overnight? Nestled in the arid landscape of the Thar Desert in what is now Rajasthan, India, Kuldhara was once a thriving settlement home to the Paliwal Brahmins, a wealthy and highly respected community. For centuries, the Paliwal Brahmins were known for their advanced knowledge of irrigation and agriculture, their ability to adapt to the desert's harsh conditions, and their strong trade networks that connected them to the larger cities of Rajasthan. They built a settlement that was remarkably ahead of its time, creating a system of underground water reservoirs and canals that allowed them to grow crops in an otherwise barren region. The Paliwals of Kuldhara were not just farmers. They were merchants, scholars, and administrators, known for their strategic intelligence and financial acumen. They held significant influence in the royal courts, often acting as advisors and financiers to Rajput rulers. Their settlements were flourishing, with Kuldhara being the most prominent among them. At its height, Kuldhara was home to more than 1,500 people, with well-planned streets, intricately designed temples, and sturdy homes built from yellow sandstone, which helped keep the interiors cool despite the desert heat. The village was part of a larger network of 84 Brahmin settlements, all of which coexisted peacefully, bound by their shared culture and traditions. Despite the harsh desert surroundings, life in Kuldhara was comfortable. The Brahmins here lived with a sense of security, wealth, and autonomy, rarely experiencing conflict. They prospered through fair trade and resourceful agricultural techniques, maintaining self-sufficiency even in one of the most unforgiving environments in India. Yet, despite their intelligence, wealth, and power, nothing could prepare them for the dark fate that awaited them. The golden age of Kuldhara would soon come to an abrupt and terrifying end. One night, everything changed. Without warning, the entire population vanished overnight, leaving their homes standing, their belongings untouched, and an eternal curse upon the land. For centuries, the people of Kuldhara had lived in peace, their village thriving despite the harsh desert landscape. But their prosperity came at a cost. Their wealth, intelligence, and influence made them a target, and one man would ensure their downfall. According to legend, the fate of Kuldhara was sealed by Salim Singh, the ruthless and power-hungry Diwan of Jaisalmer. Salim Singh was not just any noble, he was the chief minister of the ruling kingdom, a man known for his brutality, greed, and cruelty. Unlike the Rajput rulers he served, who valued the Paliwal Brahmins for their economic contributions, Salim Singh saw them as nothing more than a resource to exploit. He levied heavy taxes on their villages, draining their wealth and making life increasingly difficult. But the worst was yet to come. Salim Singh had set his eyes on something he wanted more than gold. A young Brahmin woman, known for her extraordinary beauty, had caught his attention. She was the daughter of the village head of Kuldhara, and Salim Singh was determined to have her as his bride, whether she was willing or not. His demand was not a proposal, it was an ultimatum. The people of Kuldhara were given a terrifying choice: either hand over the young woman to become part of Salim Singh's harem, or face his wrath. The Brahmins of Kuldhara knew what defying him meant. They had seen what happened to those who opposed his rule. Entire families wiped out, villages crushed under heavy fines and violent raids. Salim Singh's cruelty knew no limits, and there was no doubt that he would make an example of them if they refused. But the people of Kuldhara were proud and deeply rooted in their traditions. They were not willing to sacrifice one of their own to a tyrant. And so they made a decision that would shock the world. On one fateful night, the entire village vanished. Over 1,500 people, from the eldest to the youngest, packed their belongings and disappeared into the darkness, leaving behind their homes, their temples, their fields, and an unsettling silence that still lingers today. They did not just leave. Before they went, they placed a curse on Kuldhara, ensuring that no one would ever live there again. No one knows where they went. No one ever saw them arrive in another town or village. They simply ceased to exist. By the time Salim Singh's men arrived, they found only an empty village, its streets eerily silent, its homes abandoned but still intact. The once thriving Kuldhara was now a ghost town, and true to the legend, no one has been able to live there since. Even today, more than 200 years later, the village remains abandoned. Attempts to resettle Kuldhara have all ended in mysterious failures. Locals claim that the curse still lingers, driving anyone who dares to stay away. The disappearance of Kuldhara's people is a mystery that may never be solved. But those who remained behind, their abandoned homes, their empty streets, their forgotten temples, tell a different story. The villagers may have vanished, but they did not leave Kuldhara unprotected. They left behind a curse. According to legend, before they disappeared into the night, the Paliwal Brahmins performed a powerful ritual, one meant to ensure that no one would ever be able to live in Kuldhara again. The very land of the village was cursed, rejecting any who tried to claim it as their own, and for over 200 years the curse has remained unbroken. Despite its abandoned beauty, despite the land that could be cultivated again, no one has been able to resettle Kuldhara. The few who have tried to make a home there have all fled, driven away by strange happenings, unexplained misfortunes, and an overwhelming sense of unease. Local villagers warn that staying overnight in Kuldhara is dangerous. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures moving among the ruins after dark, flickering in and out of existence. Others have reported hearing whispers carried by the wind, voices speaking in an ancient tongue, as if the spirits of the lost villagers are still lingering, watching. More terrifyingly, visitors who have stayed past sunset have reported sudden chills, an unshakable feeling of being followed, and unseen hands touching them in the dark. Some have even claimed to hear the sound of footsteps behind them, only to turn and find no one there. The village has become infamous as one of India's most haunted places, and for good reason. Paranormal investigators, historians, and curious travelers have all tried to challenge the curse, only to leave with disturbing experiences. One of the most well-documented cases comes from a group of explorers who decided to spend a night in Kuldhara. Armed with cameras, recording equipment, and a strong belief that the legend was just a myth, they set up camp among the ruins. But as night fell, their skepticism turned to fear. They reported hearing disembodied voices, strange whispers that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Objects in their camp moved on their own, and one of them even claimed to have been pushed by an invisible force. The most chilling detail came from their cameras. When they reviewed the footage, they discovered shadows darting between the ruins, figures that had not been there when they were filming. By dawn, they had fled the village, refusing to ever return. Some skeptics believe that the curse of Kuldhara is nothing more than a combination of psychological fear, desert winds, and natural decay. They argue that the eerie noises heard at night are caused by the shifting sand, the echoes of the wind, and the creaking of old buildings. However, this does not explain the reports of shadowy figures, the unexplained temperature drops, or the feeling of being watched that so many visitors have described. Even modern scientists and paranormal researchers remain divided. Is Kuldhara truly cursed, or is it simply a place where the mind plays tricks on those who dare to enter? Whether or not one believes in curses, the fact remains that no one has been able to break Kuldhara's spell. More than 2 centuries have passed since the Paliwal Brahmins vanished, yet their village remains untouched, avoided, and feared. Even now, locals refuse to stay past sunset. The vanishing of Kuldhara's people remains one of the most unsettling mysteries in Indian history. For over 200 years, historians, archaeologists, and paranormal researchers have tried to unravel the truth. While the legend speaks of a curse placed by the Paliwal Brahmins, there are several competing theories about what really happened that night. Some believe the villagers were forced to flee a brutal ruler, while others suggest they left due to environmental collapse or war. Then there are the darker theories, those that whisper of something beyond the realm of human understanding. Could it be that the people of Kuldhara were not just fleeing, but escaping something that cannot be explained? One of the most widely accepted explanations is the story of Salim Singh, the cruel and ambitious Diwan of Jaisalmer, who desired a young woman from Kuldhara as his bride. According to legend, the Paliwal Brahmins refused his demand and chose to abandon their homes, rather than submit to his rule. But there is a troubling flaw in this theory. If the villagers simply left to escape oppression, why did no one ever see them again? There are no records of the Paliwal Brahmins of Kuldhara resettling anywhere else. No known descendants claim to be from the lost village, and no nearby towns recall welcoming an entire community of refugees. It's almost as if they disappeared completely. Some historians believe that Kuldhara's desert environment may have played a role in its sudden abandonment. The Paliwal Brahmins were skilled water engineers, but even their expertise could not change the fact that water in the Thar Desert is scarce. Some researchers suggest that a major drought or the collapse of the underground water system may have made it impossible to survive in Kuldhara. If their wells dried up, the villagers may have had no choice but to leave. But if environmental collapse was the cause, why was only Kuldhara abandoned? The Paliwals controlled 84 villages, yet Kuldhara is the only one that remained completely empty. If the entire region was affected by drought, neighboring villages should have suffered the same fate. And once again, the biggest question remains: where did they go? A more chilling theory suggests that the people of Kuldhara did not escape at all. Some believe that Salim Singh, furious at their defiance, may have sent his soldiers to slaughter the entire village. The villagers may have tried to fight back, but were ultimately overwhelmed and wiped out. If this theory is true, then their bodies could have been buried in the desert, lost beneath centuries of shifting sand. This would explain why no one ever saw them again, and why Kuldhara is still feared by locals. But there is no physical evidence of a mass grave or large-scale violence in Kuldhara. No weapons, no remains, and no clear signs of destruction have been found. The village was left perfectly intact, as if everyone had simply walked away. The most infamous explanation is the curse itself. According to legend, the Paliwal Brahmins did not just leave. They made sure no one else could take what was theirs. Before they vanished, the village elders performed an ancient ritual, placing a curse on the land so that no one could ever live there again. Many believe the curse is why every attempt to resettle Kuldhara has failed. Over the years, multiple groups have tried to repopulate the village, but all of them left within days or weeks. Some claimed they were plagued by misfortunes, while others spoke of strange happenings, unexplained noises, shadowy figures, and a constant feeling of being watched. Even today, locals refuse to go near Kuldhara after sunset. They believe that the spirits of the villagers still linger, protecting their home from intruders. Among all the theories, there is one that is rarely spoken about. Some believe that the people of Kuldhara did not leave by choice, nor were they taken by war, starvation, or rulers. They were taken by something else. This theory suggests that Kuldhara was not just a village. It was a place of great power, built on sacred land. The Paliwals were not just ordinary villagers, but keepers of knowledge, protecting a secret that was never meant to be discovered. Some paranormal researchers believe that on the night they disappeared, something happened, something that caused the entire village to vanish, not just physically, but entirely from existence. This theory is the most terrifying of all, because if the people of Kuldhara were not driven out, if they were not killed, if they did not relocate, then what really happened to them? And why is the village still waiting for answers? Kuldhara is more than just an abandoned village. It is a place where time has stood still, a place where locals refuse to stay after dark, and a place where those who challenge the legend often leave with chilling experiences. For over 200 years, the village has remained deserted. Yet those who have dared to enter after sunset report that Kuldhara is not empty. Visitors claim to hear whispers in the wind, see shadowy figures moving through the ruins, and feel an unseen force watching them. Some have reported objects moving on their own, sudden temperature drops, and an overwhelming sense of dread. Is it simply the power of suggestion, or is Kuldhara still inhabited? Not by the living, but by those who never left. Many travelers and paranormal investigators have spent the night in Kuldhara, hoping to disprove the stories, or capture evidence of the supernatural. One of the most chilling encounters comes from a group of students who decided to camp in the village. They arrived full of skepticism, mocking the legends, believing it was nothing more than a ghost story designed to scare tourists. But as night fell, their confidence turned to fear. They described hearing soft whispers, as if someone was speaking just out of reach. Their flashlight beams flickered, and they noticed strange shadows moving through the ruins, darting between doorways. One of the students, feeling brave, wandered deeper into the village alone, only to come running back, pale and shaking. He claimed to have seen a figure standing in the darkness, watching him from the remains of an old house. The figure did not move. It did not blink. It simply stood there, its form barely distinguishable from the shadows. The group left immediately. Kuldhara has drawn the attention of multiple paranormal research teams, including those from Indian ghost hunting societies and international investigators. One such team arrived with state-of-the-art equipment, thermal cameras, motion detectors, and electromagnetic field sensors. They planned to debunk the hauntings, believing the strange occurrences were nothing more than psychological effects of being in an abandoned place. At first, the village was silent, but as the night went on, their recording devices began to pick up whispers, low, unintelligible voices that seemed to come from multiple directions. Their motion sensors detected movement in empty spaces, and their thermal cameras picked up unexplained heat signatures in buildings that had been abandoned for centuries. Then, something happened that made them abandon the experiment completely. One of the investigators, standing near what was once the village temple, suddenly felt a burning sensation on his back. He cried out in pain, and when his team examined him, they found 3 long scratches running down his skin, fresh wounds that had not been there minutes before. There was no one else in the village with them. They left Kuldhara that night, shaken and unwilling to return. The locals who live near Kuldhara have one simple rule: never enter the village after dark. They believe the spirits of the Paliwal Brahmins still linger, guarding their home, ensuring no one dares to reclaim what was once theirs. Some say they have seen lights flickering inside abandoned homes, as if the villagers still roam their streets. Others claim to have heard footsteps crunching in the dirt, though no one is ever there. A few have even reported hearing faint chanting coming from the temple, despite the fact that no prayers have been spoken there in over 2 centuries. Skeptics argue that these stories are nothing more than superstition, that the sounds are caused by wind rushing through the ruins, and that the shadows are just tricks of the mind. But those who have been to Kuldhara at night tell a different story. They say the village is alive in a way that no abandoned place should be. And those who ignore the warnings often leave with stories they wish they had never been part of. The mystery of Kuldhara has drawn not only paranormal researchers and thrill seekers, but also archaeologists and historians, determined to uncover the truth behind its sudden abandonment. For decades, researchers have explored the village, searching for physical evidence, something that could confirm whether its disappearance was caused by environmental disaster, political oppression, or something even stranger. But despite their efforts, the village refuses to give up its secrets. One of the first things archaeologists noticed about is how well preserved it is. Unlike other ancient settlements that deteriorated over time, Kuldhara remains structurally intact, as if frozen in time. The houses, built from yellow sandstone, are designed in a uniform pattern, with narrow streets that suggest careful city planning. This supports the theory that the Paliwal Brahmins were highly advanced in engineering, capable of constructing a thriving desert settlement. However, something is strange. There are no signs of destruction, no burnt homes, no collapsed buildings, no evidence of a battle or violent departure. If the villagers had fled in fear, why did they leave everything so neatly behind? Most civilizations that abandon their homes do so over time, gradually moving as conditions worsen. But in Kuldhara, it happened overnight. Everything about the way the village was left behind suggests an immediate and deliberate evacuation. One of the biggest mysteries is the complete absence of human remains. In most abandoned villages, archaeologists expect to find graves, skeletal remains, or traces of burial sites. But in Kuldhara, none have ever been found. There are no mass graves, no cremation sites, and no bones buried beneath the sand. If the people of the village simply left, where did they go? And if something terrible happened to them, where are their bodies? This unsettling absence only fuels the mystery. Some scientists believe that Kuldhara was abandoned due to a failing water supply. Studies of the region suggest that underground water reserves may have dried up, making it impossible for the villagers to survive. The Paliwal Brahmins were experts in irrigation and well digging, but even they could not control the desert's shifting climate. If their water sources disappeared, they would have been forced to leave. However, this theory does not explain why neighboring villages were not affected, or why the departure happened so suddenly. Some researchers believe that Kuldhara may have a secret underground network, a hidden passage or escape route that allowed the villagers to flee unseen. Legends say the Paliwal Brahmins had extensive knowledge of tunnels and underground pathways. If this is true, it's possible that they disappeared into the earth, traveling through secret routes to an unknown destination. However, despite multiple searches, no tunnels have been found. If they exist, they remain buried deep beneath the village, hidden from modern exploration. Another eerie aspect of Kuldhara is how untouched it feels. Many abandoned villages fall into ruin, walls collapse, nature reclaims the land, and new generations settle over the ruins. But in Kuldhara, nothing has changed. The homes remain intact, their walls barely worn down by time. No one has claimed the land, despite its valuable location. No one has rebuilt or expanded on the ruins. It is as if the village refuses to move forward, stuck in the exact state it was left centuries ago. Even more bizarre is the claim that any attempt to renovate Kuldhara fails. Local builders and landowners have reported that efforts to restore the village or repurpose its land always end in misfortune. Equipment malfunctions, workers fall ill, and construction never seems to last. Despite decades of research, archaeologists have found no definitive answers. Theories exist, but the evidence is incomplete. Every clue leads to more questions. Kuldhara is more than just an abandoned village. It is a place of legends, curses, and unanswered questions. A mystery that continues to haunt the imagination of those who visit. Even after 2 centuries, no one has been able to explain why the Paliwal Brahmins disappeared overnight, why their village remains untouched, or why no one has successfully resettled the land. Some believe the curse is real, a powerful warning left behind by those who refuse to submit to tyranny. Others see the village as an archaeological puzzle, waiting to reveal its secrets. Paranormal researchers are convinced that spirits still roam the ruins, protecting their lost home. Whatever the truth may be, Kuldhara refuses to be forgotten. Unlike other historical ruins that are reclaimed by nature or developed over time, Kuldhara remains unchanged, its structures eerily preserved as if waiting for its people to return. The village still feels alive in an unsettling way, as if something lingers, watching, waiting. Many abandoned places fade into history. Kuldhara has done the opposite. It has grown more mysterious with time. It is no longer just a village, it is a legend. Despite its chilling reputation, it has become a major tourist destination. Thousands visit every year, drawn by its ghostly atmosphere, its silent streets, and its tragic past. Some come looking for answers. Others come simply to feel the weight of history. But all who visit leave with the same feeling. Something about this village is different. The stillness, the emptiness, the unshakable sense of something unseen lurking beneath the surface. Locals still warn that no one should stay past sunset, and those who ignore the warning often leave with stories they cannot explain. Centuries later, Kuldhara's secrets remain buried. Where did the villagers go? What truly forced them to flee, and does the curse still protect the village from those who seek to claim it? The answers may never be found, but perhaps that is what makes Kuldhara so captivating. It is a story without an ending, a ghost town that refuses to fade, a mystery that will never be solved. Kuldhara is a place where history and legend collide, where the past lingers like a shadow, refusing to fade. It is a village where time has stopped, where the ghosts of the past still seem to whisper through the ruins. For over 200 years, no one has lived here. No families have settled, no homes have been rebuilt, no crops have been planted. Even in a world where modern technology and science seek to explain every mystery, it remains untouched, an abandoned village frozen in time. Perhaps the Paliwal Brahmins truly placed a curse upon this land, ensuring that no one could claim what was once theirs. Perhaps their disappearance was a tragedy of history, lost to time. Or perhaps the truth is something even more unimaginable.